Hello and welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rietta, and today I am back with Matt. So, Matt, tell us again how you deal when the shit gets real, or just let's take it back to where we were in our last conversation.
Absolutely. Let's see. I don't remember what I had said last, but what I do remember is when we finished, I went through the questions. So I didn't go through the questions prior to, and I did that on purpose, right? So that I could have the raw answers. And there's one of them that you were going to ask that I've actually been thinking about, and I don't know how to answer it. I still don't know how to answer it.
Ooh, which
Um,
one is it?
let's see. Let me find it. It was the would I what would I tell somebody as somebody that's had troubles in the Marine Corps? Would I how how does that go exactly? I don't remember.
Oh, about after your time in the Marine Corps, what would you tell someone who's currently thinking about joining?
There you go. So that one, I have been thinking about that one, and I still don't know if I have a solid answer for that one. Um, I've known a kid that he joined the Marine Corps, and I feel like I may have been um a proponent of that, not real sure, but I still think that if you're gonna join the service, right? If that's your plan, then you have to join whatever branch works best for you. There's the army. People normally join the army because they want to get a college education. They're not really in it to serve their country in the way that a Marine would think, right? They're just not.
Yeah.
Um, Air Force has some really good advances for you. Um, and the Navy is, just the Navy. Um, but I would say that my problems in the Marine Corps were my problems.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna join, I always give the normal, right? If you're gonna join, just know that boot camp is hard, but it's a mental game. It's absolutely a mental game from the beginning to end. So just be ready to deal with bullshit. And these people that say that they didn't join because they couldn't deal with somebody in their face because they would have punched them. They're so full of shit. They never had any intentions on joining the military. Um, but that's kind of what I say, right? You it's your path, and just don't fuck up. I
I mean,
still go ahead.
I mean, that's the most blatant, honest, straightforward answer, probably.
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to be a career Marine. I was. If I made it back from Iraq, which I did, if I was going to be a career Marine. I had problems. And I'm still a proud Marine, right? I still support the Marine Corps. I'm not one of those that is so bitter that thinks that it's the Marine Corps that fucked me over.
Yeah, and I get why you say that because it tends, when you run into people, for the most part, it tends to be one or the other, right? They're either like, I was a Marine, super proud, or like, fuck the Marine Corps. Like, there's kind of not a lot
Yeah.
of in between.
Yeah. And I think that in the heart of my anger, right? Anger for everything, I was still Moto Marine, but I was still fuck the Marine Corps, right? I'm proud
Hmm.
that I achieved that Eagle Globe and Anchor, and I would absolutely recommend somebody to join the Marine Corps, especially if it's beneficial for what they've got going on, because it's always dependent on somebody's lifestyle. And if somebody's in a bad place and they need some kind of structure, the Marine Corps will absolutely offer that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get much more structured than the military.
You, you absolutely, well, the Marine Corps in general, right? The Marine Corps is more structured than any branch. The Army wants to say they're badass, but they're really not that structured. And you get into the Navy, and they still go by rank structure, but it's a little more lax. Hey, what's going on, Lieutenant? How you doing, sir? The Marine Corps is good morning, sir. Good afternoon, sir. All right, all right, all right. And there's the Air Force is what's up, Bob? That
I
so
think some of the recent changes also prove that too, because the recent changes that were made for like the physical standards, the Marine Corps didn't have to change anything. They were already
Marine
doing
Corps
everything.
changed absolutely fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And anything,
I
in my opinion, the only thing that should change is female standards, the female PT standards. I think the PFT, a male and a female, should do the exact same thing. That's my personal opinion. The dead hang for a female, it's a dead hang instead of 3 pull-ups,
mhm.
right? A female should be able to do 3 pull-ups. If you're in the
Yeah.
Marine Corps, you should be able to do 3 pull-ups.
Well, and that almost goes back to physical education in schools too, because we did the dead hang in school too.
Mm-hmm.
So they should have just been teaching pull ups from the beginning, which they are. I don't want to say more difficult for females, but they are different for us to complete. But I mean, if we're going to hold that standard, then it should, in my opinion, then it should start in the physical education system. But most of these kids don't even have physical education anymore.
Well, we are becoming a very fat nation.
Well, yeah, look at us compared to everybody else, but that's a whole other topic.
I can go down that one.
That's what she said.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
um,
what was the next question?
I know the one that you were super excited about, and it was actually one that I was like looking to hear you talk about because it's something you're passionate about on TikTok. Is how important you think it is for us to have open conversations about controversial topics.
Yeah. So that is something that I'm pretty passionate about. I've talked about it on TikTok quite frequently, and I try and have the open conversations with people. It's important because if we don't understand what the other side or what our adverse opinion is, then we have no idea how they feel or why they believe what they believe. It's
Yeah,
just a roadblock. And I have my convictions in what I believe. There are some that, if you're able to bring some evidence to me that would change my mind, I'm willing to change my mind. But I know I said but, and that doesn't mean forget everything I said. Um, Now, 9 times out of 10, I've I've always said I don't want an echo chamber. I don't, because with an echo chamber, you're just hearing the same thing over and over and over. It becomes like the Marine Corps, a cult. And it's we are not going to grow in society by having 2 different factions. We're just not.
right.
So,
Yeah,
and this is the thing whenever they talk about in politics in general, that the Republican or the Democrat went over the aisle to try and work something out. That's what they intend, is to have the conversation, see if we can come to a middle ground on the bill, right? Because that's
right.
the idea, is on the bill, let's come to a middle ground. But what truly happens is, as a Republican going over to the Democrat saying, "Hey, I really think that you agree with this, but there's some things in here that you don't agree with. What is it going to take for me to get you to sign this?" And then most times they say, "Well, I'll sign this if you sign this bill that I'm going to introduce." So then it becomes you're you're kind of going away and tearing away from your moral fabric, because it's not, let's discuss what my constituents want and what your constituents want. It's, my people want this, your people want that. I'll sign yours if you sign mine. So you've got to give a little in the bills, not in the particular bill, right?
Yeah,
And that's something that needs to happen. And I've talked to many, many, many people that oppose my political views. And I'm trying really hard right now not to actually say what my political views are, because if somebody wants to know what my political view is, go to the Life Liberty show and check it out, and you'll definitely determine what my political views are. But well, I've been able to have a candid conversation with somebody that has opposing views, and we can understand why the other person believes what they believe, respect it, and still disagree.
Yes.
And that is where we need to be. We are tearing the fabric of our country apart by disagreeing and not being able to understand and respect that other person's opinion.
So here's a deeper question for you then, adding on to that. Do
You
you
bet.
think the media is playing into that?
Absolutely 3,000%.
I knew you were
Um,
going to say yes, but I wanted to
yeah,
hear your
yeah.
your
So
reaction.
here's the thing. We both have podcasts, right? We also
I'm pretty
know
sure. Is that what we're doing here?
is that what this is? But so we know that if we put in the tagline of what we're talking about, it's going to gain more traction, right? Like if you tag this just interview with Life Liberty or Matt Williams from the Life Liberty show, you may not gain as much traction. But if you tag it, um, I don't know, let's say um, crazy conservative talks shit about Democrats, then people are going to go, ooh, I'm going to listen to that. So it's all about tagging, and it's all about the the what is going to get people riled up.
I was
And
going to say, so essentially you're kind of saying that people are literally looking for drama.
1000%. So I noticed, hell, if you weren't in there this morning, when I was on TikTok this morning, I came in, guy started calling me names. He was the first person to come in. Normally, I don't know if you've hosted a live over there on TikTok or not, but normally it takes 5 to 10 minutes for people to kind of start moving in, right?
Right.
It's kind of, you'll see people come in and they'll leave, and then it just takes a little bit for the right person to come in and respond to you. Or you got to
Mm-hmm.
be talking to an empty phone with nobody in there, and that's just weird as fuck.
Which is why I
Um,
don't like going live very often, because that's what I feel like I'm doing. Like if I'm going to talk to myself, I'm just going to talk to myself. I'm not going to do it on TikTok.
right. So, this very first person in my live requested up, and I'm like, sure, let's do it. I can drop you at any moment, right? And he come in. All right, so I guess my name probably gives away what my conservative view or what my political views are, that I'm conservative. But he came in and was like, maggot puke and blah blah blah, right? I had the normal picture of me helping kids or teaching kids how to fold the American flag, and I had a red shirt on that had the same flag on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he come in just chewing, right? Of course, it doesn't bother me. I don't give a fuck. It's the internet.
Yeah.
Um,
But
and
somebody
it
peed
went
in his Cheerios this morning.
right. But it went from nobody in there to 25 in a matter of minutes. So the drama is what brings people in. Same thing on Clapper. When I was on Clapper doing our roast lives, we'd have 100 people in the live roasting and chewing people up, talking over each other, just drama, drama, drama. And then as soon as we were like, all right, guys, this person's gone. And then we got back to just talking about whatever we were talking about, went from 100 to 12, right? The drama is over, everybody leaves. And it's the same thing in the propaganda news is it's all about the drama. It's all about the clickbait and
Fear.
fear. It's fear mongering. And they've noticed that most people, not all, but most people don't do the research necessary to determine if what they're saying is correct.
Mm-hmm.
There was one story that I seen, try and remember. It was the news article, right? The headline
Mm-hmm.
was a teenage girl treated inappropriately by the high school coach. And the way that it was said was almost the assumption of um and sexually, molested or something. And then
Mm-hmm.
as you get to it, it never even talks about the girl or the coach. So
Interesting.
so now your headline is going to be out there. Nobody's going to read the story, but the headline gets all the attention.
So here's another question then. Why do you think people are so addicted to the drama?
We have created a instant gratification society in the past, I don't know, 30 years, right? When the internet started, and we were part of it. Whenever think about what was it, LimeWire,
Oh
okay?
God.
We bitched about wanting to download a song and it taken 2.5 days to get the song, but that was still faster than us going to work, making the money so that we can go to the, record store or whatever and buy it. We were capable of getting it for free. And now then the internet moved faster and faster, and everything is so instant gratification that we have now started trusting um our news sources, which is kind of wrong because in the 90s, Obama actually was part of pushing a bill to go forth through the House and the Senate that actually took away the requirement for news organizations to tell the truth. They are now deemed entertainment. Yeah, the FCC makes them report as a news station, but they aren't required to tell you the truth.
Well, and I think that happens more than just the news, and I'm sure you've seen it too. Like people see a video on Facebook, on TikTok, wherever, and they take it as gospel and they run with it without making sure it's true, without making sure they get both sides of the story. And there's tons of people that get, myself included, it happened to myself, where somebody just believed a story that went out there and attacked me and said I was a terrible person. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on.
You
I
know,
literally run a podcast that gives people voices. And you're trying to tell me that I would silence somebody? Like, you're like that. First of all, it doesn't even make any sense if you just take 2 seconds to look at who I am.
well, see, but here's the thing is I've kind of come into this too. So the podcast, we do want somebody on the podcast that has some kind of relevance and they're capable of holding a conversation that would be interesting for somebody to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guest on that you're going to have to force and
No.
pry information out of, and they're not capable of articulating their thought in a way that sound right. So when somebody's like, hey, I want to be on your podcast, and you're like, hey, yeah, I'll keep that on the back burner, right? Or they're thinking you're silencing them, and that's a whole nother problem. That's a
Yeah, that's
societal
different.
shift. Well,
Yeah,
so I don't know
that's
what.
entitlement.
Yes, but we have become an entitled society, and I think that's what happened to you. Is somebody felt like they should have been on your podcast, but you didn't want them on, so they thought that you were silencing them.
No, it was definitely much more. They were on my podcast,
And
found
then
out
you,
not every, found out not everything that they said was true. Didn't necessarily take the proper path of how to convey that they didn't say everything was true, but that got twisted into me saying that I said that her sexual assault was not true, which those words would never come out of my mouth. I would never say that. I've been essayed myself. And then people just believe that I would do that. And it's like, I literally have people come on my podcast with all sorts of traumas who are willing to open up and be raw and real with me. Why would I do that? I wouldn't.
right. Oh, calm
I would
down.
never do that.
Oh, did I make you get all teary eyed this time? It's payback.
No, honestly, I'm so glad that it happened because it made me a better person now. At the time, it was fucking terrible. I didn't get out of bed for 3 days.
when somebody
But
was talking trash about you.
yeah, that somebody would think that about me and just believe it. And then, they're getting on TikTok. You see it, making videos being like, don't follow her, put her books on your no read list because she's the reason women can't come forward. Bitch, that's not what fucking happened.
Well, I have found after watching people get destroyed on social media, I don't know how I've done it, but I've done a pretty decent job of not giving somebody the fuel to to throw me under the bus because I tend to say what I say. And if somebody comes to me and goes, "You said this," but like, hang on, I don't remember saying that. And then whenever they bring up the scenario, I'm like, "Oh yeah, 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 I remember saying it now. I absolutely said that, and I stand behind it." Right?
I mean,
So,
if that was the case, then that would totally be fine. But I never said that.
oh,
When
I'm
you're
with
putting
you.
when
I'm
you're
with you.
putting words into my mouth, that's a totally different thing. But yes, there's nothing wrong with being standing up for what you believe in, whether people believe in it or like support it or not. It's
Mhm.
when somebody else is just it backs to the media making up shit to scare people or making up fake headlines just to get clicks. Like, how did we get here? Like, what happened to integrity?
A lot happened to integrity. A lot did. Um, I feel like we're the last generation. That, and you're a year younger than me, so we're both still elder millennials.
Who you
And
calling old?
so
We need we need to figure out a better way to say that. We're educated millennials. I don't know.
I'm
Whatever. Continue.
seasoned.
There you go. Seasoned. I like that much
Yeah,
better.
yeah, seasoned. Um,
I don't have a beard, but I can pretend.
but I have found that we're the last generation with integrity. And there's people that go, and I'm not saying the millennials because I consider us Gen X because we
Okay.
were raised Gen X. We just so happened fell into a year span that is something completely different. Um, but we would, if we had problems with somebody or they had problems with us, they would come to us, we would fight and we would move on.
Mm-hmm.
And and you had to have integrity or you would get your fucking ass beat. And it's not the same. So
No.
even I also contributed to, you want your kids to have a better life than you had. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's just kind of how nature goes. Um and let's just say that somebody in our generation had a pretty decent life. We were kind of the era that was getting the computers, getting video games, getting all of the cool things moving ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And technology, we were the beginning of the technological era.
Yeah, I remember when you needed a college email to get on Facebook.
Right. Um, and we kind of had it good. We kind of did.
No, we
Um,
did. I think we did have it good, but obviously we're also biased, but we definitely had it good.
right. I mean, and as we look back at some of those things, now we're making our kids' lives better. Well, I didn't have um whenever I wanted something, my mom didn't buy it for me. So now we go out and our kids want something, we buy it for them. I look over in the corner of my daughter's little play area. She's got $2,000 or $3,000 worth of toys over there, not just from us, but right? And but yet she still wants to get a marker and draw on the chair and the walls and never play with the toys. Why the fuck did we buy her $2,000 worth of toys and she doesn't play with them? Right? We didn't have that. We didn't have all of these toys that it wasn't kick the can, but if I remember having die cast cars, like Higher Patrol cars, and I had 6 of them. They were the coolest thing I ever had. Sit down and, you know, play with these cars. And I had a shelf that I made sure was clean. And I, would set my cars all pretty. And there was nothing on the walls. I had some cheap ass at the time. Walmart was the shit, but really, they were just cheap toys. Like, I don't know. It's so abundant that the entitlement has gotten so much worse. And this goes to the hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. And it's kind of an evolutionary thing that's happened and or it happens and it's going to continue to happen. We've just been in the era of technology because even the era of the industrial age, right? The industrial age was still pretty tough. But then that's about when they started having suburbs and people were having all of the block parties and having fun. And we weren't sensationalizing and putting in the news all this stuff that is scary.
Yeah.
And now that we have the internet at our fingertips and everything that could possibly happen is sensationalized and we grab a hold of that fear. Um, we've I've talked about it. I carry a pistol just about everywhere I go. And my daughter was like, I don't know, I can't stay in St. Louis. I just can't do it. I'm like, well, why not? And then she's got this fear base about something. Well, what if I get kidnapped? Well, first of all, you're an adult. It would be an abduction. Second of all, look in the news and find out how often somebody gets abducted in St. Louis. Oh, but the chance is still there. Yeah, but you're living your life in fear. And then the fear is compounded on everything. And then the entertainment factor of the fear, seeing somebody else's life in shambles. Think about it. You've got all of the TV shows, most of the big ones, NCIS, I mean, what is there? 12 NCISs now. There's like
Mhm.
Nashville, LA, Texas. Like there's so many, and it's all about these crimes or true crime podcasts or right. Like it's everybody just wants to hear the bad instead of hearing the good. We need to start
I'm
hearing the good. Go ahead.
I mean, our TV shows do reflect that if you think about it. Like again, going back to our age, I the main TV shows I remember were like Home Improvement, about a happy married family. Gilmore Girls, which I mean wasn't happy married family, but still it was a very like positive spin and like all stuff like that. And I mean, you go back our parents' generation, they were watching like my dad still loves it, Leave It to Beaver, which
Mm-hmm.
super wholesome. But
Mr.
yeah, what you're
Ed.
talking so that was our like TV shows. Obviously, that's just a small like section. But in general, like most of our shows were a little more, lighthearted. And like, yeah, now the big shows are. And don't get me wrong, I love them just as much as the next person. It's American Horror Story, it's
Uh-huh.
Monster, it's all this really dark stuff, and then everybody wonders why they're so depressed.
Absolutely agree. And we kind of bring it on ourselves.
We do.
I've This is one of the things that I sometimes I get wrapped into it. But I take a day or two away from social media, like, and I go, wait a second, that's not real life. And a simple explanation on this, right? Simple. My wife seen and she scrolling Facebook or something, and she goes, "Hey, there was a plane accident. The it was a commercial airliner crashed in the Taneycomo in Branson, Missouri." And I go, "What?" And she showed me the picture, and I was like, "That appears to be AI." Right. And now we're getting into AI, and AI is, oh my gosh, it's insane.
It's
And
so
then,
good. Yeah.
oh, and she showed me, and she goes, "No, no, no, it's on this." I was like, "Okay, give me a second." And I went down the rabbit hole of researching to find out what's going on in Branson. I went on Facebook pages, local this, local that, nothing,
Hmm.
nothing about it. So even that, right? We're like, oh my God, look how crazy it is. And it's getting so bad that we have to be able to delineate what is actually real. and we're getting to where we can't. So now when something is real, we're going to go, nah, it's AI. So now they can pass something over us that we're not even paying attention to because it's so outlandish. Do you remember there was in Miami, you remember the big deal with all the cops at the mall, and they were like, "Oh, it was a UFO landing." Do you remember that?
I do
2,
not
maybe
remember
3 years
that.
ago?
I don't
So
remember that.
2,
But
maybe 3.
to be
Go ahead.
really honest, just because we're there, I purposely don't watch a ton of news because
That's smart.
it's depressing. It affects a lot of other things in your life. It has, which a lot of people don't realize. And like I said, people wonder why they're depressed. Like I just like obviously I try to stay informed, but I purposely don't watch the news, especially stuff like that, because like kind of why. But anyway,
Well,
back to your point.
but it turned out, right? It turned out that it was a couple guys that were running from the law, and some news station or somebody sensationalized it and made it look like something it wasn't. And it wasn't an alien invasion. It was like 3 people robbed a bank or something. It was, and now me saying somebody robbed a bank like it's no big deal compared to an alien invasion, robbing a bank is no big deal. But
I mean, that's another good point. It shows how desensitized we are.
yeah. So
I see it with my parents. You know, if my mom comes over and I'm watching again, like back to like American Horror Story or something, she's like, "What are you watching? Ew, it's so graphic. Turn it off." And I'm like, "Okay, okay, I'm sorry."
you
Or
know,
like,
you say that, and this may make people think I'm a racist, but I'm not. So
oh
when
god,
I used to stay at my grandparents' house quite a bit, and I was the white kid that enjoyed watching BET. And it was comedy. I like watching the comedy shows on BET. My grandfather come out of his bedroom one night, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and he walks in, and I'm going to say a word that you may not like. You may have to edit it. He come out and he looked at it and he goes, "Get that nigger shit off my TV." Right? And I was like, "Oh, what?" Like, I found out that my grandparents, or at least my grandfather, was a super racist.
well, and obviously not trying to put everybody into a category, but a lot of people from that generation were. My
Well,
grandfather was too.
that's the 50s, 60s, 70s, right? That was the integration of schools, and like there
Yeah,
was it was bred into them.
yeah.
And
It was a
we
very
are
different time, very different
yeah,
understanding.
absolutely. And he owned him. He's dead and gone now, so I can talk shit about him. My grandmother's gone too. Ain't nobody gonna hurt from it. But he owned a mechanic shop for almost 40 years, and he had to deal. We lived in South Texas, right? Majority Mexican. So he was a super racist, still dealing with all of these people that were, I don't know if he was Nazi, right? Hell, Hitler, but he definitely did. I don't think he was. Um, but I mean, the Duke was his favorite character, and I mean that says a lot right there, right? The Duke is the man,
Yeah, yeah.
John Wayne. So I don't think that he was um, a Nazi racist, and he didn't like all races. I think he just didn't like black people. But he dealt with them on a daily basis, and we can't do that anymore. Just like, what was it? The cake company a few years back that chose, because they're a Christian or a Christian family, they didn't want to make a wedding cake for a gay family or a gay couple. Why? Just make the fucking cake.
Yeah. This goes back to I think what we talked about last time is like you can have opposing views and still be kind to one another, but we've forgotten how to be kind. And just to say this, because I don't want anybody out there to think otherwise, Matt and I are both not racist. Just putting that out there. We
Not
were
even
just having
close.
Just having a conversation about our grandparents from a generation that was much more prone to being racist. But I just don't want that to get spun, so I wanted to put that in there. Okay, continue.
100%. 100% not a racist. I got a black
No,
dog.
not even close.
So
Got a black dog. Oh Lord.
You should have seen it in color. Um and I'm a comedian, not really.
He thinks he's a comedian. No, I'm just kidding.
Tens of thousands of comedians out of work, and this guy's trying to make a joke. But no, I don't know. There's just so much that is compiled into that question. The secondary question that you had of why are we so detached, and why do we care so much about um the sensationalism of everything instead of just letting bygones be bygones.
Because that's what's interesting. We're so detached, but then we're also so attached to like how we feel and fuck everybody else. Like it's kind of an interesting, like we're almost very like polarizing. We're super detached from this, but then we're super attached to this, like so much so that we can't just have a conversation.
Yeah, it's absolutely, I don't know the word. Like I wanted to say something really cool, but then the word just slipped my mind. But it's polarizing is what it is. Is and I don't think that there's as many people like the group of friends that we've created on social media. I don't think that there's and that really comes down to about 8 or 10 people, right? There's that are just kind of, there's nothing that really gets under our skin. We accept everybody as they are. If you say something stupid, we're going to call you out on that stupid thing. And that's just it's there's just not a lot of us anymore, and we kind of need to get back to that.
Yeah, we do. We need to get back to a lot of things, honestly, but we would be here for days.
For days. Speaking of that, what was the next question? Let's try and change the subject away from us maybe being racist.
Which we aren't. Just saying
We
that
aren't.
again.
We aren't at all.
um, well, we didn't get into the fact that you ran for office, which I know we're still kind of staying on the kind of in the political zone, but not really.
Sure.
But like what inspired you to even run for office and what were like the changes you were hoping to make?
Okay. So what inspired me, right? The reason I ran is I felt like, and I still feel like this, that our government doesn't really give a fuck about us. And I think that I had high hopes to get in and just be the change. And as I was in the campaign, and I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. Um, I don't know why I do that. Like I go, I've said this before instead of just saying it. Um,
For dramatic effect.
and I guess I'm pretty good at it. Um, but I was sitting down for lunch with somebody. I was trying to get their endorsement. I was trying to get a PAX endorsement, no money, just their endorsement to say we like this person's views. And one of their questions was, what do you think going into office that you need to learn? Or what is the most important thing that you think you need to know going into office? And I thought my answer was pretty spot on because it's what I believe. And I think everybody would agree with it is I need to learn how to read and write bills, right? That as a representative that is voting on bills that are going to be the laws for all of my citizens and all of the people in my state to follow, I need to know how to read them and write them so that I can interpret them properly. And what she said to me just hit me in the gut. It was, why? You don't need to know that. You just need to know what you want it to say. And then you give it to the lawyers in the belly of the beast, and they write all of the bills and they put all the legalese in it. And I was like, well, then what in the fuck is my job? Right?
Legit question. That would have been my question too.
What is my job? Why are you paying me 35,000 dollars a year to not do anything? And she said, that's a good question. She said, what your job is to do is to go around to the other representatives and convince them to sign your bill and vote yay. So, and she said, so you're going to have to go over the aisle and talk to the opposing party and convince them to get onto your bill. And I
So
thought to myself,
you're the personality of the bill.
right. And then if I don't even know what it says because I can't interpret it, what am I actually fighting for? And then that's when I realized that the system is completely corrupt, because I go over and I talk to a Democrat and I say, hey, I want you, and I think I said this in the beginning um, of this episode, right? That, and maybe it was earlier today on the live, but I convinced this person to sign my bill, but I have to give away a piece of me because he's going to say, or she, that, okay, I'll sign that, but you have to sign mine later, or want to put pork in it and not. And yeah, it was with you. It was,
Yeah,
if we're
it
not
was.
having the discussion of getting the bill right for both sides, it's you're just giving too much away. And I
Yeah,
felt like
each time you're giving a little bit more skin and eventually you're going to run out.
and eventually you're corrupt,
Or that.
right?
That's a nice that's a meaner way to say it, I guess.
It's well, I mean, you're then in the good old boy system, right? Because I feel like I'd be the one. You asked what is something that would be my first thing to change, and what did I want to change? It sounds ridiculous, um, but I think it's something small that matters. Seatbelt laws, right? Let's do away with seatbelt laws. It's something small, something to get my feet wet, something to move forward. Whatever I do in my car, and if I choose to wear a seatbelt or not, should not be an infraction that is finable by our government, that they can make some kind of monetary gain off of me. Or if I choose not to pay that, now I'm going to jail because I chose not to wear a seatbelt. That is absolutely arbitrary. I have the free will to make the decision. If I don't wear a seatbelt and get in a car accident and I get killed, who else does that hurt except for my family?
So would you also, just because I'm going to throw this out there because I used to ride a motorcycle, would you include helmet laws in that as well?
Helmet laws in Missouri are already gone.
I know that because I've made that mistake before because I went to school in Southern Illinois. Illinois
Uh-huh.
has helmet laws.
Uh-huh.
Actually, no, it was the other way around. Did Missouri not used to have it?
Missouri has had helmet laws. 2 years ago, they got rid of them.
Okay, so yes. So Illinois didn't have one. Missouri used to. We rode from Illinois to Missouri and we were like, crap, we got to get out of here.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm that way. Anything that imposes on my ability to be a free thinking person should not be a law,
So you
right?
would clump helmet laws in with seatbelt laws.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Um, and that's so if anybody knows where the seatbelt laws and the helmet laws came from, it was actually insurance lobbyists. And they didn't want to pay out insurance on somebody not wearing a helmet because that's one of their things. They were like, oh, we're trying to find something to make it to where we don't have to give you money. So they lobbied to have helmet laws put in and seatbelts. Let's say a simple seatbelt. Okay. I get into a fender bender. If I get into a fender bender and I'm not at fault, but I'm not wearing a seatbelt, my insurance won't pay out. And that is ridiculous. And lobbyists for the insurance companies pushed for that to happen. That's the same thing with alcohol, by the way, the DUIs. I would, as arbitrary as this sounds, I would absolutely get rid of DUIs as well. because you're choosing to make a mistake. The DUI is just a tack on now. You're not actually preventing anything because you're going to give them a DUI. They're going to drink and drive again anyway. So but what about the people that they hurt? Well, then that's the crime, right?
Okay, interesting. That's an interesting way to think of it because that was going to be my first question. Because unlike the seatbelt laws, like you said, you're only really hurting yourself. Somebody driving drunk absolutely has an effect on somebody else or somebody else's business. If they crash into somebody's business and drive through the wall and completely destroy their business.
Yeah, that's the crime. Everything before that, there is no crime. And
Okay.
it's a what do they call that? That's part of giving away your freedom, right? It really is. Is it a stupid idea? I don't drink at all, but is it a stupid idea to drink and then go drive? 1,000%. I think it's the alcohol uh, alters your mind just like marijuana. And now that marijuana is recreationally legal in the state of Missouri, it should fall under the same laws as alcohol right now.
Okay. Well,
But
here's
I,
another thought then, a random thought. A lot of scientists and people say that being really tired is essentially the same as driving intoxicated. So
yeah,
that would be like putting a law and saying, if you haven't gotten 6 hours of sleep, you can't drive a car. People would be
there's
like,
no way
wait
of
a minute,
testing
what?
it.
Well, of course, there's no way of testing it, but I'm kind of trying to follow your line of logic that would kind of fall into the same ballpark.
I agree with you. I agree with you that driving tired is just as bad as a CDL. I hold a CDL, and driving tired was one of the main proponents of semi truck accidents, which is why there's laws that are in place now for CDL drivers that they don't work over 10 to 12 hours on the road, right? And then if you're local, it's 16, blah, 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 blah. But you have to have 8 hours of downtime before you get into a truck again. And as the operator, if I want to stay safe and my job tells me, hey, you need to be back here in 5 hours to go drive, I go, nope. The law says there are some things that protect you. But then there's the other people. I have friends that will drive for 3 and 4 days because they want to make the money. Because if you're constantly moving, you're making more money. This is this gets into some really sketchy territory because I understand both sides. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I mean by talking to the other side and understanding why they believe these laws should be in place. I
Yeah,
get it.
because I'd probably be on the other side with the DUI. I definitely hear you of what you're
Mhm.
saying. Um, I think maybe because my dad was a police officer
Mhm.
and I've heard some of the horror stories of him dealing with DUIs that it makes me a
Mhm.
little more on the other side. I almost want to say that I'm maybe like on the fence,
Mhm.
but I do understand your logic behind your what you're saying.
Yeah. And that's a really good place to be, right? You can disagree with me and be like, nah, I think that's a good law. I would say that I think it's a good law too. It's it it serves a decent purpose, but for me to stand on my constitutionality, for me as a constitutionalist, right? I'm a constitutionalist with conservative views. And that any time that a law is put into place that takes away your free will, then it's, in my opinion, unconstitutional. The taking away the free will to drink and drive is a smart one, but I still stand more on the side of my free will. Does that make sense?
Which no, it does make sense. It's kind of funny. My brain went to The Sims temporarily. The game that we used to play of like free will, where you like I
Uh-huh.
used to always take the free will off.
And that means that you are not a constitutionalist.
No, I just wanted full control. No, that just shows you where my mind wanders.
Yeah,
Not always a logical place.
right. I know we've got 10 more minutes for this one. Is there one more question that you would like for me to answer?
Yeah, I want you to talk about your book because I want you to freaking write it and stop being a procrastinator.
Oh,
So you're gonna write a book. What are you gonna write it about? Tell us
I
all the
don't
things.
I don't know what it would actually be called.
You don't
I
need a
feel like it's
title.
no, 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 not the name of it.
I'm
I
just
don't know
giving
if
you
it'd
shit.
be I don't know if it'd be an autobiography or if it'd be a memoir or what the title is. But I
Stories with
think
Matthew.
yeah, yeah, see. Um I'm I think I may be wrong, but I think some of my life or pretty well all of my life has been pretty interesting. At least the first 20 years of my life was pretty fucking interesting.
Now you're
Um,
boring. No, I'm just kidding.
well, I've been married almost 20 years, so yeah. Um, but there's some other things that would go into after my military experience. Some of the hardships I've had dealing with. I've started saying it more and more. My PTSD, my TBI, right? The hardships that my family had to go through. And I think working up would be a really good story. We moved around a bunch. You guys heard a couple of my stories last episode.
He's a
Um,
shrimp boat captain.
Shrimp boat captain, bubble gum shrimp. Um, and that's only a portion, right? I mean, I grew up in the drug industry. My parents, their best friend was their dealer. Um, been in and out of trap houses. Got some pretty interesting stories. I've had law enforcement drawn on me whenever I come out of a trap house, right? So like I think there's some pretty interesting stories. I caught a field on fire one time and walked away from it. Um,
Whoops.
I did it on purpose. Um,
Okay, not whoops.
I mean, I was a shithead, not a shithead, right? Like I was a a problem Gen Xer,
You
and
were a Bart Simpson.
I was a Bart Simpson, and I think some of the stories of moving and Pineapple Planet Wilderness Guide. One of the times we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and him and I went to the same school, and we got to talking, and come to find out, we may have actually been friends.
That's so
And
cool. I love stories like that. You definitely should see that. That's what you should publish for sure.
I mean, there's like so many little things, and there's some things in my life that I haven't decided if I want to divulge that. Um,
Which is
and
understandable.
well, there's after this, I'll talk to you about it. Um, I'll tell you, I just won't tell the world.
Ha
Um,
ha ha. You guys don't get to know. No, I'm just kidding.
but it's trying to figure out how to remove some of those things that I don't want to talk about,
Hmm.
to tell some of the other stories because some of the other stories actually happened because of, right?
Gotcha.
And I don't know, like I remember laying in my bed crying for my dad. My dad left when I was 5 years old. He's a heroin addict, been in and out of prison my whole life. Um, let's see, 3 weeks ago, he just got sentenced to 14 years in prison. Right. So my, I'm just, I don't know. I've always thought I was a bad apple. And I've held on to that for a really long time. And I'm slowly starting to realize that I'm not them.
You're
And
breaking the habit of being yourself.
I am breaking the habit of being myself. Yeah. Um, and it's not something that's going to be able to happen overnight.
Nope.
And for anybody to think that they can change who they are overnight, is giving yourself false expectations.
Yep. My friend Robin, and she's been on the podcast, so if y'all haven't listened to the episode, go listen to it. She talks about this perfectly. She calls it credits and debits. You've been for 20 years talking about how you're a bad apple. So it's going to take more than just one, you're a good boy, to balance out the 20 years of you telling yourself you're a bad apple. You have to balance out the debits and the credits.
I so wanted to just go, good girl.
And the book talk girlies have splooshed.
But yeah, I think that we've talked about it, right? I'm not a writer by any means. I'm not. But finding a ghostwriter is something that could be fun. I don't
Luckily, you know a couple writers.
I do know a couple writers. And that's
cough,
where
cough. Oh, this is out of control.
So I do want to write one. I've started it. I think it was like 4 sentences in. I lost it now. It's been deleted.
How
but
dare you?
I got it really wasn't that good. That 4 sentences.
It's still 4 sentences. I'm gonna send you a book. And people on this podcast have heard me talk about it before, but I'm gonna say it again for you. It's called Bird by Bird.
Mhm.
And the author Anne Lamott talks about shitty first drafts, where you may have written, let's just say, 10 pages, and maybe 8 pages of that are shit, but you wouldn't have gotten the 2 good pages if you didn't write the 8 shitty pages along with the 2 good pages.
Which is something that I'm starting to understand with narration, right?
Yes.
I read it,
same concept.
Go back and listen and go, that sounded like caca, that didn't. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to read that again. And then hopefully we can get it to blend together.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I've done the same thing with the podcast, right? There's a couple of them I just haven't posted because they were shit or the guest was shit. But
we're not going to talk shit.
So guys, y'all aren't going to hear this because this episode was shit. Because the guest was shit. But
Lord.
So those of you that don't know, you're going to know now. I am narrating her book, The Operator, and I've read the first 3 chapters, and I'm so intrigued and entranced that I'm wanting to get back to it. I'm forcing myself not to, so that I can get the other book read.
Which I understand, but I appreciate the compliment. That's a massive compliment, in my opinion.
You're very welcome. It's hard to do for me because I don't read, right? Like,
apparently you do. It just needs to be the right thing.
It just needs to be the right thing. Or maybe I just need to get paid to do it.
Or that. Money is a motivator for a lot of people, so.
But I'm not getting paid for years until the voice is good and people actually enjoy it. So it's not quite the same.
Semantics.
It is semantics. So yeah, I'll probably end up reading fucking romance, erotica, smut, but never.
He's so mad about it.
It is what it is.
Hey, I mean,
I've been told, hey, and today it sounded like, at least in the comments, that my wife might be willing to do a duet in a erotica. So that
how fun is that?
It may turn out good and it may turn out trash.
No, I honestly think that's awesome. They always say, couples that play together stay together. So,
well, we definitely play together.
Okay. And on that note, I know I asked you this last time, but I always like to ask it. What final advice, book recommendation, because you read podcast episode recommendation, whatever that you want to leave the listeners with?
I would say don't be afraid to be you. And I'm learning this a little more as we go. I'm going to be so cliche right now. It's okay to not be okay, right? You are who you are, and if people don't accept you for who you are, fuck them and
Fuck
feed them
'em.
fish heads. So
Ooh, okay. I haven't heard feed 'em fish heads. I like that.
I don't know. It's just don't ever be afraid to be who you are. I'm still afraid to be who I am in certain aspects, but I'm getting better. And I think everybody needs to be the same. But in that same sense, I know I said but, don't forget everything I said before it. In that same sense, you have to be respectful to other people as well. You can't just say, this is who I am, accept me for who I am. And then they're like, listen, dude, you're overbearing. We don't want to be around you because you're overbearing, not because you're goofy. So you've got to keep that in mind too. There is a balance.
There is a balance
Everything
for
is a
sure.
balance.
Everything is a balance. Yep.
And thank you for having me yet again.
Thank you for being here. I always appreciate a good, candid, honest conversation, which is why I have this dang podcast.
When the shit gets real.
It does get real every day.
Every
And on
day.
that note, this is how to deal when the shit gets real, guys. I will see you all next episode.